Hey!
Hey!
Welcome to Bad Dads.
It's Bad Dads up in here.
It is Bad Dads 30
But yes, Bad Dads 30 in terms of the time.
o'clock.
That's right.
I didn't fade out the music.
You did?
I just straight up cut it off.
You're just like, it's done.
Yeah. You do this enough times, and it's,
Well-
it's the first time every time.
And we wanted to make an adjustment to the intro anyway.
That's right. We have
And-
a special guest today.
Yes, sir.
Very, very special for multiple reasons. One, our first guest ever
On Bad Dads. This guy.
Yeah.
I'm honored.
Find the applause button. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Live studio audience today. But also my brother-in-law, Steve, or Dr. Steve, as you may learn to call him by the end of the episode.
That's right.
Steve?
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me. It is an honor to be the inaugural
Yeah.
Inaugural.
guest.
Yes,
Wow.
sir.
I never dreamed I would be on a podcast, let alone a podcast of this stature. So I'm just blessed, and I'm without words.
Well,
I'm so happy to be here. So,
I love it. And he's
thank you guys.
And he's repping the merch.
I am.
And that's
know.
what I'm talking
I mean,
about.
you guys have merchandise. I mean, this hat is fantastic. I'm gonna be probably wearing this every day for a very long time.
you should wear it to work.
I will consider it.
That was perfect.
Strong.
I will consider it.
Wait, does that make us your sponsor, or are
Wait a
you going to be
second.
our sponsor?
Wait a second.
I think he volunteered. He had said that he would be our sponsor, something about working capital, and happy to give it to us. That, we can talk about it. We don't need to talk about it here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm willing to take 50% of your future revenue for the duration of the podcast, if that sounds about right. So
We'll consider that
okay,
because currently
you'll
we're in debt.
consider that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
start as debt.
So there it is. I'm a
Understood.
box of sweat equity. That's what I am. No,
Well,
but welcome, man. Happy
Well, no,
to have
thank-
you
yeah,
on the
yeah,
podcast
absolutely.
for sure.
Thank you
This
for
is
having me.
awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about, as we always do, what should be our topic? Not that we have to have a set topic going in, because we just like to hang out and do dad things,
Yep.
but and talk about dad things. But Steve has 5 daughters,
5.
so
Yep.
6 kids total, 5 daughters.
Bless him.
Josh and I have 1, so at least we can relate.
Yeah.
But we're all girl dads, so this episode is about the adventures of being a girl dad.
Yes, it's
Mhm,
perfect.
mhm.
And we could certainly have an interview, but I kind of suspect that once our wives watch this, it won't matter
Yeah.
whether this was a set list of questions. Actually, it probably would have been a better idea to have a set list of questions. It probably would keep us out of trouble. But no, it's my daughter, and like Josh's daughter, was the last of our kids.
Yes.
So boys
Yeah.
first, then girls. But you started
We did the opposite,
1 through 5 girls.
And so I do have a little boy. So
Mhm.
you want to have me back for the boy podcast? I'll be happy to listen and take in all the wisdom. So because he's our youngest.
That's right.
So yeah, he's
How old is it? What is the
yeah,
breakdown of all 6 of
Yeah,
your
my
kids?
oldest daughter Hannah, she's 20. So I have a 20-year-old, an 18-year-old Ava. They're both off at college, and that's that may be a whole nother episode, having kids in college. But
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'll
Hannah
have
and
to
Ava.
pick your brain on that.
Yeah. No, it's actually really great. And then I have a sophomore, Audrey, she's 16. And then I have a 7th grader, Ellie. Sophia is in 4th grade, and Noah's 2nd grade. So yeah.
My goodness.
So we
Okay.
span the whole range from elementary school to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have the whole plethora there.
Right. Which means I have no idea what's happening or what's going on because it's a whirlwind.
Ever.
Yeah.
Well, and before we jump in, this is maybe going to be one of the forever questions, like every guest question.
Yes.
So Josh and I both call our wives the calendar. And really, I
Mm.
took that from him. So we've had a couple of conversations about how if they don't keep the schedule,
It's over.
we're screwed. And the first episode that we were supposed to record, and I think we talked about it in the first episode,
did.
and then probably a couple since, is that we were out to dinner and my wife said, "Hey, aren't you supposed to meet Josh to record the first episode?" Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
Clearly, I'm not master of my calendar. So, how about you?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. I think if you were to ask my wife, am I good at calendars? She would say, "Oh, he's the best. He's so good. He's on time. He knows everything. He never overbooks us for anything.
Mhm.
It's fantastic." No, I think
That's not
very-
true at all.
That's
not
very
even
Not true. Not even
close to
close. Look
no,
at
I'm
you.
terrible. I'm really bad at calendars because we have, and in fact, this has been one of our probably our biggest struggle is calendars because I have kind of a weird schedule just with my job. So I'm sometimes having to work overnight in the hospital. And that gets, I have to book, that gets booked out like 6 months at a time. And so it's up to me to tell her the days I'm on call. And so it is routinely, it'll be, 6 a.m. I'll wake up. Oh, hey, Doreen, by the way, I'm on call today. So good luck with everything tonight. I'll see you tomorrow, and at the last minute. And yeah, that's she loves that.
Love you so much.
Because it gives her a challenge, She likes to try to think of problem solving skills. I feel like I'm helping her.
This is what I'm talking about, man, because like what a lot of people miss is you're actually preparing her for greatness because in life things get thrown at you.
I like that.
And because you love her so much.
And I think I'm going to tell her that I'm not going to be here. And I'm preparing you for greatness.
That's right. Now listen, just real fast, like when you say it, it's like a safe, like 8 feet back.
Good point.
You know what I mean? Just like a safe 8 feet. And I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, no, it's actually
been text her when you're, not while you're driving, of course, because we would never condone that.
Yeah, no, hands free.
But, when one of those moments where you've left.
Right, when I'm already in the hospital.
The last minute.
Surrounded by hospital security.
Yeah, exactly.
So
hey, just want to let you know.
I'm not going to be home tonight.
Yeah.
So no, we've tried all different things. I try to enter my calendar into the app or whatever. And then that that didn't work out so well. And then we got a whiteboard with a calendar. So I put it by the door, and we try to fill it out. And, that lasted for like a month, and it's just, the calendar's hard, especially I guess you guys have kids in high school and in middle school, but as they start going different places and before they can drive, it's really, it is really something to try to keep all that straight. So it's no joke. And yeah, I feel you on that one. That is not easy.
All right. So, well, 3 points to 0. The wives are.
Yeah. The count. Yeah.
Clearly.
The respect to our wives. 100%.
Absolutely.
Love you, boo. So, girl dads. So this is something starting off with 3 boys that neither my wife nor I thought we would ever be. We had boy. So when she got pregnant with the 4th, and we didn't find out the gender of any of them. It was always a surprise. So the 4th one, she was absolutely convinced it was a boy. And when it was a girl, she couldn't believe it. I mean, it took probably weeks and even still sometimes.
And was that like a good or bad response? Was it like, no, it can't be, I want all 4 boys? Or was it?
No, it was it was just surprise. Like each time was a surprise. So equally surprised each time, but that time was just extra surprised because she thought for sure it's a boy. Just, okay, I'm going to have all boys. And the funny thing was that Lucia she was born basically at midnight. The lights were down. It was quiet. I think it was a midwife that delivered the baby because the doctor got called into surgery, and it was just super chill. Whereas the other 3 was kind of a little quicker, more people, clean them up. And this was just, no, you're going to be with mama. So just peaceful, didn't make her cry. Boy, have things changed.
I was trying to hold it in because I was like, oh, y'all about to know. That is not Lucia.
No. So she just a quiet, peaceful birth. Well, maybe after she was born, it was quiet and peaceful. But yeah,
So you guys didn't find out till she was born?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
so
know
the doctor held her up.
Yeah, that's cool.
And Sarah sat up. It's a girl? Just couldn't believe it. And so it's been a fun ride. It really for me has been a lot of the stereotypes. You know, she's a little princess and daddy's girl. I think I play into it a bit because so many people talk about it and say it's a thing.
Yeah.
But what happens when they're all daddy's girls?
Yeah.
When every kid, and another one.
And another one.
Yeah, DJ Khaled.
He's in there. And another one.
Yeah, no, it's a blessing. It's interesting. I don't think you said what kind of doctor I am, but I'm a gynecologist, OBGYN. So I'm surrounded by women all day, every day, literally. I mean, until I get to see my little dude at home. So
yeah.
And have been for many, many years. So I just know everything about women. So whatever questions you guys have, just
no.
This is going to be a long episode.
I have a whole list.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you opened that door. Okay.
No, exactly. No, it's great. I love my daughters. It's so fantastic. You know, I think kind of like you're saying, you know, before I had children, I always thought, you know, oh, I can't wait to have a boy. You know, we're going to go camping and we're going to play Little League and we're going to, and I've got all these like things I'm going to teach him. And like never occurred to me, I might have a daughter, you know? Yeah. And obviously God thought you probably need a lot of daughters. And it was, and he was so right. And I'm so blessed to have them. You know, they're all different. You know, everyone has a different personality like you would expect. And so you kind of, there's not like a formula for each one, I think. And so each one, you know, they've got to kind of learn their temperament, like what are the things they're interested in, and, you know, how do you, and how do you approach them? How do you comfort them? How do you discipline them? It's going to be different, I think, for each kid. So,
and if I could ask you, did you find it different? Because we've kind of talked about it a little bit, your first versus your fifth daughter, by way of like how you approach them and how you discipline them. Like, was it different from the first? Was it whatever, or it just comes down to personality? It wasn't really different.
Yeah, you know, I think. Well,
parent,
you know, I think it's some of the things that would happen if you're a parent, regardless. You know, as you like, I had never held a baby in my life until I held my first child, and so I didn't know anything about caring for a baby. You know, so I
think your first child was the first baby I'd ever held.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably.
It was the first diaper I ever changed.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do right now.
I know, me either. Like, thank God my wife knows how to do all that stuff, which is great. And so I had no idea what I was doing with the first, and I don't even know if I know what I'm doing now. So it's you know, I feel like I'm just kind of, you're like, what I tell patients all the time is just parenting is just a nonstop exercise and trial and error. You know, you try things and it works. Oh, that's great. But then it stops working. So you have to just modify, and it's just always, you know, problem solving, making changes. I just don't think there's a formula from one to the next, just because the kids are just so different. They're so different. Yeah. You know, there's some kids that are getting in trouble all the time. Others almost never get in trouble. And it's not, you know, it's just their personalities, you know? So.
And is that, so there's often talk, right, of boys versus girls. And so there's whether, I don't know if it's stigma versus stereotype or both, that boys are a little bit more rough and tumble. Maybe girls are a little bit more, I don't want to say calm, right? But they're not necessarily out in the mud, you know, playing with bugs. But did you have any of them that really sort of broke the stereotypes and were different than how people characterize or caricaturize?
This is just my anecdotal experience. My little dude is probably more destructive than the other 5 combined.
Okay.
And he's great.
Holding it down.
Yeah, it's real. No. He's like, I got it.
No, it's like you walk up to the girls playing. They've got, you know, all their Barbies set up in a row, organized. And they all have like a plate in front of them, and they all have a purse, and there's 4 little things in each little purse, you know, all lined up. They're ready to go, and he just walks in. Oh,
Godzilla.
All right, what else can I go to next to break? You know,
laughs, leaves.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Maybe we just follow the stereotype. So, you know, certainly I'm sure there's little girls who want to get out in the mud. You know, and of course when they're little, they love going out, stomping in the puddles. But I think that's just human. You know, you want. Yeah. There's just something about feeling the soggy water squeeze between your toes. The kids seem to like. So maybe you're wrong too. I don't know. Like that.
Oh, it's icky.
Yeah, well,
icky. I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't believe it. No, you're always walking around in sandals unless you're wearing socks with sandals, which has happened before. But whatever.
I don't like to talk about that.
No,
You
there's
promise you never bring that
yeah,
up.
no, there's like, you know, they have different levels of how girly they are, I think, but they're all, you know,
Okay.
definitely a difference between boys and girls, no question.
How would you say, or if you have one top of mind, if you don't, that's fine, right? We'll be chatting for a minute, but a story, or not even a story, but just like an example of perhaps conversations that you've approached with each of your girls, right? Just in terms of life and adapting, and did those conversations go in different directions with the different personalities, and or because I'm always like struck by this, did you learn more in some of those conversations than perhaps the other side, or equally?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know how great I am at doing those kind of conversations, you know, and certainly that's something I want to be better at. Like, you know, I want to give them advice, you know,
Yeah.
teach them things, you know, teach them, you know, right or wrong, how do you behave or interact in certain situations. You know, it definitely is different from, well, I would say it's probably more age dependent, you know, the different types of topics that you approach and how you approach them. And, you know, it's a challenge, you know, talking to, as a dad, talking to girls about, you know, you know, what is appropriate, what's not appropriate, as especially as they're going through puberty and becoming young women. It's like, how do you approach that without offending them in somehow, you know? And but you learn a lot about yourself. Like, why am I nervous about talking about this particular topic? I really shouldn't be, you know, but I am for some reason. And it's interesting because I talk about this stuff all day with my job.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm not, I've gotten definitely better at it over the years, you know, maybe with my oldest daughter, a little more, I don't know about shy is the right word, but a little less able to, or I guess not as comfortable, you know, asking her those probing questions, you know, so,
Yeah.
so, yeah, no, it's a great question. It's definitely an area I think I can improve on a lot, you know, and in reflecting. So, like, I can't think of an example off the top of my head of like a conversation. We were just actually talking earlier about, you know, modesty is a common topic, in especially today's culture. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
you know, you know, what's modest, but without being weird, you know what I mean? Like, you don't. Maybe,
speaking of modesty, this is just fizzy water.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
I don't mean weird, but you know, we don't have to wear like smocks down to your ankles, the long braided hair or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Like, I think that's beautiful if that's the culture, but it's my girls don't want to dress like that, you know? And so it's like, how do you, you know, I think modesty is probably the topic where that comes up the most. And it's, you know, as a dad, it's like, lengthen that skirt, you know? And I remember one of my daughters was at her homecoming dance. And she had, you know, when we buy her the dress, you know, it's got to go down, you know, right above the knees or whatever. But with time, these things can just like,
they
get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. I remember texting my daughter, make sure you pull your dress down like halfway through the night, you know, because I knew it was getting shorter. She never responded, so I don't know what that means, but
yeah, she's like, cool.
Yeah, exactly. No, they're great kids. I am so blessed with just really good kids, and it's so it's made it a lot easier for me, really.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Now this is for both of you, but right, it'll be different perspective, but might help with Noah, the young man. But what I have found, and so I'm asking you if you find this to be true, or you start the thought process about how you raise your boys by having a girl, right? So when you have boys that are teenagers, right? So we have teenage boys, and then you reflect on being a teenage boy, and you're like, kind of remember how I was, right? And you want your girls to dress modest. That's not usually how teenage boys want girls to dress. No judgment, not saying, not speaking on any teenage boys' behalf, right? But you sort of want to go the opposite of what dad probably wants for her.
Right.
But by having a little girl now, I actually find that it's helping me, I think, raise my boys and instill I guess modesty on their behalf, but also a sense of respect for women in general, but women who dress modestly as an indicator of not like the caliber of woman, but a woman that has values or whose family has values that, hey, you don't have to hike up the skirt, or have that, low cut shirt in order to, feel good about yourself or whatever it is, right? Whatever the motivator is. So, how has having a girl and now having a boy kind of changed your mindset though about how you raise your sons?
Mm. That's a good question. I'll jump in on that one. It's been I share in the fact of our job as parents, our jobs as dads, right, are to raise our kids to be something that's impactful in the world today, right? Not to be something that's cliche, something that goes with the flow or just status quo or whatever, right? Be able to do that. And God knew what he was doing, giving us, her name's Melody, our youngest, giving us Melody in this household. So, because I'll have conversations all the time. So what it did for my boys, and this was natural, like the second she was born, it's over. Like these guys took on protector role, like out the jump. But it's very interesting, like protector from other people that are being jerks, right? Like, oh, don't you dare. And they'll slam on them like they're very protective. Get inside our house, right? I remember Melody, like, dude, she couldn't even, like, she was barely at the stage where she's trying to like sit up and just do that. And freaking Nathan, that's my middle guy, dude. This guy, I love him, but he's something else. You just walk up and push her over and stuff like that, right? Like normal kid stuff.
Yeah.
But I would sit, and I remember I would sit in those moments too. It's like, no. Like, what are you doing? This is your little sister, right? She looks up to you. Fast forward to now, and we have conversations about just like, hey, listen, when you're looking exterior, when you're looking at a female or whatever, right? Especially my oldest, around those conversations, it's just like, that's someone's daughter, that's someone's sister. So think about Melody, right? Like, and so I'll do it. Like, I won't have to be the dad, like with the shotgun on the first date, because Jay was just like, we're not even talking about it. She's not getting a boyfriend until she's like 34. I was like, what? It's weird. How did we swap places?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But so there's that protector role. It gives them an insight of how to treat ladies outside of our home. You know what I mean? And I think too, like their heart grows in such a way. It's fun to watch, like the three of them just kind of talking to one another. So I've noticed that if I could sum it up, it's protector, and then it also is a little bit more of a depth as it relates to how to treat, ladies and so on. And I think for my daughter too, the opposite is true. Like there's an example of I have this protection, right? So I'm allowed, because what does that do? That allows her to then be even more herself. And I think that might be what the heck's happening with Melody and Lucy.
Yeah.
Is that her brothers love like that and the good, and she feels
Yeah.
safe. But like, dude, like Melody's a tornado. We'll get into that later. But anyway, I don't know if that answered the question, but that's kind of what comes to mind.
Yeah. No, I love that question. And, if I, think back to when I was 18, like what was I looking for in a woman? I mean, it was not like what I would want now. What I know now, it's not the same thing at all. And so how do I raise my kids not to be like what I thought I wanted when I was 18? And so
Not looking for wholesome values.
Exactly. And so it totally flips your perspective, and then so how do you raise your son? Like not to you want to be, it's like, where's that balance of, raising him to be like you, but also not the bad parts of you, you know what I mean? So I think it definitely causes you to reflect on, who you are and how you raise your kids. There's a great poem. It's called A Little Fella Follows Me. So it was a poem, written after a guy had a son, and the guy's following him around everywhere. He's like, oh man, I have to totally change who I am and how I behave. And that next step in trying to become more virtuous. I mean, it's just, I just think it's a natural thing that happens, you know?
Yeah.
So it's great. Love being a parent.
Yeah, you hit a great point, right? They're watching us.
They
Yeah.
are. Yeah. They watch you.
And
It is amazing. You think your kids, they're not even listening. And so you could just tell something to your wife and then they like come around the corner. I just heard you say, you know, that you guys are going out for milkshakes. Am I going to get a milkshake? Like, you don't even listen to me when I tell you to pick up the floor. But,
Right.
you know.
And I talk way louder than I talk
exactly,
when I was talking about.
Exactly. But you're exactly right. They're listening and watching and learning all the time.
And I think there's a beauty to that in all facets, right? Because sometimes, and I don't know if you guys had this experience with your fathers, that there was a moment, right? There was a moment where you're growing up and you're like, it's like, Dad, dude, that's my hero, man. Nothing goes wrong. That guy's got it on point, right? Nothing phases him. He's good, right? It's a little dude, and then you come up about teenage years, right? It's just like, oh, you slipping a little bit. What's happening? Or, hey, I think he's walking around with more weight than what he's sharing. Or I think there's, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's also when we talk about like they're watching is to be comfortable in sort of sharing the other side. We're very confident in sharing, like, here's the values and here's what it should be. And as a man, or whatever the case is. But I think also there's a great benefit of a lesson in sharing in the weakness. I was talking to my kids, in my family, my wife as well, is just like we've been reflecting on there's a strong difference between happiness and joy, right? Happiness is temporary,
Yep.
Right? It depends on the situation, but joy is constant. You can be joyful in the greatness and you can be joyful in the storm, right? It is a choice because you're still breathing. There's storms going down everywhere, but you're experiencing it, which means that your story's not written yet. And you're right now is still happening, you know? So I think there's just something to be said about that as they're watching. And I've had conversations, especially with my oldest, you know, that are sort of like based upon weaknesses that he's seen in me or whatever. And we'll sit and dialogue about that and kind of have a conversation about it. Like, yeah, oh no, please. I am a broken man. I share this all the time. Like, I'm a mess, right? I'm a mess. I do a lot of things right. Right. I do a lot of things right, but I'm sloppy. Like I'm a mess. But I think
It's no secret.
when no, listen, guys, seriously, I know this is wild, but like I'm a mess. Do you know what I mean?
Isn't that a song?
But like, dude, you think about clay. You're forming clay, right? In the thing, not like all ghosts.
Like Ghost.
Yeah, well,
no.
listen, that ghost became human and it started getting weird, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
all kinds of hands doing weird things with the clay.
And now a quick word from our sponsor.
A big thank you to our sponsor, Purchase Green Artificial Grass and Supplies, a local wholesale retail distributor with everything you need, all in one place for not only artificial grass installation, but also modular tile flooring for your garage and or outdoor spaces, be it basketball, pickleball, volleyball courts, and more. With over 65 locations nationwide, Purchase Green is your #1 resource as the Artificial Grass Authority, specialized service and support, and unparalleled product fulfillment. Go to purchasegreen.com to find your nearest location. That's purchasegreen.com. Purchase Green, the grass is greener because we're on your side.
And now back to the show.
No.
How does it rank on your list of charisms?
I think from what I've heard, I think you and I are probably about the same spot.
Top.
Yes.
Inverted.
Mhm.
Top.
Yes.
Did you have him do the test?
That's
No.
that's why I was curious.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've not
okay.
done the test. No.
Yes, take a charism test,
Yeah.
listeners, if you haven't.
I'm gonna have to do that.
It's humbling.
I bet.
I'm glad that you charism about that. Just that was
Worth a try.
Thank you,
That's
brother.
what we do.
But no, like if you're making clay, right, or you're forming it, you're dirty. But what comes out of that is something beautiful. And so I think just circling back, like being able to kind
I'm
of
sorry, Christina Aguilera had a song called Dirty, and then she had a song called Beautiful. Like, what? What is happening?
in her
How did
album,
you know?
How is this not my charism?
it has to be your charism, dude.
Music. It's just music trivia. That wasn't one of the categories. I'm
Music
sorry.
trivia?
It wasn't
Okay.
even. It wasn't
One of
even
the
on the
virtues?
thing.
One of the cardinal virtues.
Name that dude. All right.
Music trivia. Why isn't that a cardinal virtue, bro?
Yeah.
Gotta add it to the list. Maybe
Yeah.
the new Pope will.
He might. R.I.P.
No, I think that's
I'm
great.
sorry. We were talking about something deep.
I love it.
No, that was it. Like being able to kind of share with them as well, not just, hey, do this is the right way, guide. All of that's super huge and important. But when you get called out, or there was a moment where you were whatever, right? Like you're pissed off and they're talking back, because that happens from time to time, as you've experienced it, I'm sure, So you do like, bah! Like you just do a quick, like, come back, Jesus, like come back real quick, but sitting down and having a conversation after as to why and what's going on. But being able to be vulnerable with them, I think, goes a long way too.
Do you find, for both of you, do you find that you're different you're different in front of your girls and how you interact with them than you are with your boys? And I don't mean the stereotypical things, but sort of your frame, your, I don't want to say it's like we talked about it in a different episode, code switching. But do you think you kind of have a dad code switch, but not necessarily your Steve code switch or your Josh code switch, but your dad code switch, where it's, okay, this is how I need to exhibit myself as a man in front of my girls. But then when you're with your boy or boys, all right, this is how I am with them. This is how I need to be.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's a little bit challenging because there's always like lots of kids around all the time. You know
It's
what I
never
mean?
separate.
Exactly. And so you're just trying to get through the day. I do sort of feel like with my son, there's a little bit more that I sort of feel like I need to teach him practical things a little bit more, or maybe he's just more interested in it than the girls are. And so, taking time to like show him specifically how to, and things that are physical, like building things, like how do you lay these bricks to make a step, or how do you cut the wood and do all the nails and stuff and
make a spear.
Make a spear. Yeah. I think you helped him make a spear one time.
Yeah.
Gently.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
you gotta learn to
Gently
spear making is
get your
like-
own food.
gently stab people with the spear.
Exactly.
Well,
It's
if
an
you go-
important life skill,
And
If
so,
you go to
thank
prison, you need to learn to make a shank.
That's right.
So might as
Yeah.
well already
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to teach them early.
Life
So
skills.
yeah, and so not that I don't try to teach the girls life skills too, it's
Sure.
like, but it seems like it's a little more physical for the boy than the girl. But mostly it's just we're just getting through the day.
I kind of wonder, and so Josh, I still want to hear your answer. It just was making me think that I think sometimes, like, I have this really nice pint glass that says "Exhaust Dad," exhausted.
Oh,
exhaust
dad.
that's
Mhm.
cool.
And I
Good
never,
times, yeah.
I never thought of myself as exhausted from being a dad, but I kind of wonder if some of it you don't realize it, right? It's like your brain's modulating. And even though the kids are together, you're kind of doing this just rapid code switching.
Yeah.
Even instantaneous, subconscious, and it just burns all your mental energy. You're wiped because you're constantly flipping that switch. It's like probably your son flipping the light switch.
You remember it? Yeah. Dude, could you imagine like if there was a video camera just watching you all the time and you would just go back and watch you through the day and like,
Oh man.
look, I mean, it'd be a nightmare probably, but it's like, I think that's what you like. I just wonder,
Yeah.
like in the moment, you might not realize it, but like
That you're
maybe I'm
adjusting.
just really doing things differently for the kids. And maybe in a way I shouldn't be. I don't know. It's very
It's like
possible.
a
It's a good thing to
dance.
think about. Yeah.
Like you see, right, if it's slow-mo and you see him and your frame changes,
That's right, yeah.
posture
I bet,
changes,
yeah.
and then you turn it towards the girl, and then your frame changes, your posture
Yeah.
and it's just this like tango.
Yeah. And I bet
Mm.
there's probably some like inherent way that happens,
I think so.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Man, just going through my head as you guys were sharing. So there's something that's interesting in that it's more personalities that I adapt to, but the approach is kind of the same, right?
Okay.
The approach, which is how important it is for their voice to be heard, is a big thing, right? Like, so
Or not heard.
or not heard. Yeah. And
Equally.
in my freaking house, dude, for real. For real. I can make this mute, baby. I just, I don't know.
Love you.
Yeah, so much. No, but it's funny in our house, like everyone's sort of fighting to have the microphone for the story or whatever's going on. And so I find myself in certain circumstances like, okay, no, hey, listen, like, Steve's sharing right now. So I'm going to focus on that. But I do also, I notice that I do make it a point, like, especially when we're out in public, and it's 100% for Melody, which is like, we're just walking, just hold my hand or whatever. I'll be like, oh, no, you better get it. And I'll just put my hand out like this, and then she'll spin, and we'll just break out and dance a little bit just in the spot, whatever. Just give her this special moment.
Yeah.
I do find myself doing that to her. And with the boys, like, I love on them the same. A box of love. Like that's how I roll. Enjoy, like stupid jokes, But I guess really that's the difference is, or maybe there's no difference. I can't really think of like, does my frame switch? So maybe to our point
That's what
earlier,
it'd be
that
interesting
like,
to see like a camera or
Yeah.
something, or like,
yeah,
and just as a objective observer of what's
Mhm.
going on.
I've detected it subtly, but I've noticed, and it helps when you have more kids and then they wear you down and then you get older, so you just get tired.
Yeah.
So you just got to give up anyway. Like, all right, fine. Yes, you can have box of Pringles. Oh wait,
Oh, you know what? Now, if we're talking
Pringles
about
don't come in a box.
if we're talking about that sort of thing right there, where you're just like, it's fine. I would say, okay, there is a difference, but it's not necessarily boys versus Melody. It's first child versus the third.
Yeah. Different.
You know what I mean?
For
Which
sure.
is just like, what? You would never let me do that. I
Yeah,
was like,
totally.
whatever, dude. But like, it's here now. Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So not talking about that, but I have detected so say the kids are sick. So Luke and Lucia, they're 3 years apart. So when Luke's sick, there's something inside of me that's different than when Lucia's sick. Both times it's annoying. Only because I'm a big baby. It's always at night. So I'm always
I
I'm
want to
tired.
sleep.
Yes, exactly.
Stop it.
But what I've noticed with my boys is it's not so conscious. This is how I'd have to rationalize it. I don't like seeing weakness in them that I feel in myself, or that I knew I was that way as a kid. So I don't like seeing them be like me. Whereas Lucia gets a pass because she's not a boy.
Yeah.
And I don't think about it. It's reflecting on it. It's just, I feel, I feel bad for both of them, but there's just something about when my boys, I don't want to say show weakness, because it's not about showing weakness. But it is that, what I think would be considered weakness, because if you're sick, right, you're just weaker. So it's a temporal thing and temporary thing, but for my girl, she gets a bit of more of a pass. I'm a little bit more nurturing, I think, and a little less like, suck it up.
Yeah. Well, see, for me, I think it's more, rather than worrying about his weakness, it's you want to establish toughness in your boys, So like if they're running and they trip and they fall and they skin their knee or whatever, I feel like I'm more, no, just get up. Come on. You got to move on. You got to learn how to get past the
Life
pain,
is hard.
That's right. Exactly. But I think it's not so much I'm worried that they're weak. I just want to instill toughness. And I think we just naturally want to do that more for our boys than our girls.
Yeah. Okay, this is like a mini bad dad story, like super short. So again, Nathan, right? Like you could predict it. So my guy, he like plays all about sports, where it just was, right?
Yeah.
So we're at flag football. He's playing flag football. We're doing our thing. We can count it. My brother's gonna fall down 3 times, and each of the 3 times, every practice is gonna be like someone slaughtered him, like just something. He needs open heart surgery. Like it's over, right? Like he broke all 3 of his legs. He only has 2. Like it's a thing, right? So, but to your point about instilling toughness, it's just like, listen, if it's not bleeding, it's not bruised, or it's not dislocated or out of place, like, let's go, get up, shake it off. Like, right. Let's talk about that, learn from that pain, so on and so forth. Okay. So now we're at the game. We're at a football game. It's going down, right? And he took a hit. And it's flag football, but they, he's aggressive. So he's going after the ball. He jumps for the ball. When he does that, the other dude is running this way. Bah! Like hit him. boom, like hit the ground, right? And he's just like, I don't know. I know. My stupid ass from the sidelines is just like, you're good, dude. Get up. Get up. I got you. Get up, man. Hey, listen, the play's still going on. Get up. You're good. You're good. To where finally, so he stood up, and then finally the ref and the coach was just like, his nose is bleeding. I'm like, come here. Like, come here. He comes and I was like, oh, my bad, dude. Does it hurt? Like when I
Yeah.
do this, I love you. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that came to my mind when
Yeah.
you said
But
instilling
you know, it's
toughness.
like, was that first instinct bad? Do you think? I don't know.
I
that
don't
it
think
was.
so.
Yeah, I don't think so
I don't
either.
think so, right?
Yeah.
Because I said, like, if you're bleeding or if you're doing this, then
Yeah.
okay, then
That's right. You made the caveat of blood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It has to be blood. But then that was like a great. I'm okay with being humbled in that way. Does that make sense? Like when they're just like, "Hey, bad dad, he's really, really hurt," you know? Yeah, that's on me. That's on me. I'm gonna go ahead and take that.
Yeah.
And then we had a conversation, because he was like, "Why didn't you believe me?" I was like, "This is the whole boy cry wolf thing, man. You fall down all the time, and it's like this thing, I said, but I need to be better. I need to be better at assessing the situation. But no, I don't think. Why, I don't think that initial instinct is bad.
Yeah.
I always wonder if it's I wonder if it's a bit of you. It's sort of like with the boys, and I'm not saying it's correct. Like nobody's gonna come to help you, whereas the girls is like somebody better come help you.
Better come help you.
Yeah. And so it's not because they can't take care of themselves. I think it's just that it's that wiring,
Right.
And I don't even see it as a cultural thing, because I had an older sister. I didn't have any brothers, but just in my childhood, I mean, I feel like I was out of the house playing either by myself or in the neighborhood with friends. It wasn't like a lot of family time where you're really learning a lot, watching your dad do a ton of things.
Yeah.
You're learning bits and pieces of it, but it's just sort of when you're out, you're independent, you're on your own. It's like nobody's coming to help you. And so even my buddies, right? Somebody wrecks in the street or whatever on their bike. It's like, you'll be fine.
Yeah. So like when
it's just like
when
even
you,
outside of your household, it's the same.
When you took, was it a dirt bike or it was just a regular bike, but you flew over your own fence as your dad's rolling up?
Oh, it was this. Yeah, it was. It was a
Was that one of those
it was a
moments
little
where
trough
Yeah.
coming out of a grove right as he's driving his truck, lock up the front brake.
and but share that, right? Like, because this is interesting. What I mean, because you hurt yourself.
Oh yeah,
And what did he say?
I just kind of remember him. I don't even remember what he said now. I probably told you the story and I remembered it in the moment.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like I think I had a new white t-shirt that I had gotten and it got all dirty or something. I think one of the things he said was like, your mom's going to be pissed. Like that you like ruined your shirt,
Yep.
She just bought that.
Yeah. So I think he was just kind of like, and it just, I kind of remember the look like, you dummy.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, just kind of shaking his head and just drove away.
But that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
like
just
back to your point, like no one's gonna come and help you. Like you are on the floor like this, just tore up, and he's like, your shirt.
Your shirt's dirty.
Yeah.
Versus to your point.
And so they need to learn that, right? Yeah. To a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then what do you do when you face that as an adult
That's right.
in your life, right? You'd be sort of paralyzed. You wouldn't know what to do if everything was always
Somebody to the rescue. Yeah.
that's right.
And so let's flip that a bit. Do you teach your girls to see a situation like that? Like, hey, that boy is hurt. You need to go help him.
Yeah. I mean, I think, so you want to teach your girls to be able to function in society, be independent if it's, necessary, and certainly might be at some point. You want to have, girls who are very capable, of course. And so But yeah, I think if they see somebody who's injured, should want to go help.
But do you feel like that's something that you actively
Would encourage.
encourage that you do, or you coach them on, hey, if you ever see a boy get hurt, make sure you go over there and take care of him?
Yeah, I think you should. I don't know if and maybe the dad doesn't, but I think like my wife, for example, she will way more want to run up and nurture, Noah if he falls and gets hurt or something like that, more so than me. I think that's just, I don't know if you could stop him from wanting to go help, even if you tried.
Yeah, and I'm sort of curious, right? Is sort of again the inverse, right? The boys, I think it's a bit of a, hey, I know what you're going through.
Yeah,
because I'm wiped out, I've been hurt, whatever. But hey, the subtext is like society isn't teaching anyone to come to your rescue,
right?
And it's sure as heck not teaching the girls to come help you out. And if anything, they're going to be like, pass. You're like,
who's this crazy kid over? Why was he flying over the fence on a motorcycle? Maybe I don't want to go anywhere near that guy.
I don't listen.
If you landed it, cool.
different.
Yes,
different. He's in control.
That's right. But if he wrecked, right? It's like a literal metaphor. Like he's a wreck.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, so stay away. And so I kind of wonder though, right? Is what are we teaching girls, in terms of how you interact with a guy? And so when men then struggle later in life, have women ever been taught? And do you? I don't talk to my daughter about this. Doesn't even cross my mind. It's crossing my mind now. But hey, if you have a friend, or hey, when your husband's struggling with mental health issues, I want to make sure that you're there and you're very nurturing,
super supportive, patient.
Rub his back, get him bean dip and tortillas.
That's right.
All his favorite things.
Yeah.
Let him play Call of Duty as long as he wants.
Yep.
Until he gets over it.
He's processing.
Yes.
Allow him the time to process. Takes anywhere between 4 to 6 years, whatever.
Mhm.
Like, let him work through it.
Yeah.
And you'll be okay. I'd probably be divorced. Yeah, Bree wouldn't. No, she wouldn't be about that. But I see what you're saying. Like, do we teach our daughters, if someone's hurt, go after them? I think some of it too is the stuff we were chatting about earlier, to where like they're watching us.
Yeah.
So if I'm naturally, and I guess this sounds like a jerk of me in a sense, like if I see another kid fall, I'm like, hey buddy, you all right? You know what I mean?
I'm usually like, good
my own,
job.
Yeah.
Good
yeah.
job,
Oh my
yeah.
God, dude, you did it, buddy. I'm so proud. Do you want me to help you out? Nathan's over there. I'm like, shut up, dude. Get up. Helping other people. No, but I think in general, because I think about Melody. Mel is the one that's over. And I didn't necessarily sit her down and be like, okay, when someone gets hurt, I need you to go over there. Like, it was none of that. Didn't even cross my mind, to be honest. But she's the first one.
Mhm.
First one over there is just like it's instinct. It's in her,
right.
And Bree said that she was like that when she was little. So I was like, what happened? Just kidding. I love you.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think like being nurturing is a good virtue for women. Nurturing is a great virtue, I think, to instill in young women, and that sense of wanting to help their children, puppies, their husband, whoever it is, when they're struggling. I think that's an important role that women play, supporting the men in their lives. So I think it's a good thing to teach, and because you want, hopefully the men will be, strong leaders of their family, but obviously there's going to be times when the men are broken down or beat down and struggling,
100%.
and the women need to be supportive every day. The women need to be there in support of, like, I try to be as helpful as I can be at home. And like, if I'm on a call shift or something, and I come home and I got no sleep and I've been up for 30 hours, I have to come home and sleep. And my wife is, she understands that. She gives me a quiet corner with a newspaper I can kind of put over myself and leaves me alone. No, just kidding. I get a bed. So
Oh, I was like, hey,
yeah.
even
No,
that
she'll
though
let me-
sounded nice.
Yeah.
I was
I was about it.
Yeah. In the rain.
I didn't tell you it was outside.
No,
Literally in the
she
doghouse.
does, and so she's very supportive of me and lets me get like caught up because you know I just can't function at some point. So yeah, I think that's hopefully my daughters see her, you know, supporting
Sure.
me in that way, and
Mm.
we'll learn something from that.
So I think maybe my last question is, how does having just a daughter, but multiple daughters, do you think change how you interact or treat your wife?
Mm,
Right. So now you're trying to, or maybe you don't realize how much you're trying, right? But it's, all right, daughters, here's the dynamic between husband and wife, right? Here's the dynamic male and female. So, right, you're sort of now looking at maybe some future wives and then many versions of your wife, right? And so how does it change how you look at your wife, treat your wife, think about how you're supposed to treat your wife? Do you ever catch yourself like, you know, in a moment with your daughter and then think about your wife going, oh, or, got it.
gotta be really careful with that question. Just kidding.
Well, you know, yeah, I mean, I want to I want to try to model what a good husband would be, right, to my daughters, so hopefully they can pick some,
That's right.
hopefully they'll look for a quality. I mean, hopefully if they, you know, I don't even know, but hopefully they would look at me and say, oh, I would hope I have a husband like my dad. I don't know.
Mhm.
Is that what you want for your daughters to think? I mean, I would like to think that. I don't know if I've done that or not, but that would be my goal, I think. So, so that also involves how do you treat your wife in front of your kids, and you know, especially like when you're tired and frustrated, it's like making sure you're not being a jerk on some level, you
Mhm.
know, and so and always trying, you know, be respectful, but also, you know, making decisions and, you know, doing those things men are supposed to do. So, yeah, and making sure, I think it's just, you know, being respectful, not, you know, belittling your wife in front of your kid. Not that we should ever do that, but especially not in front of our kids. You know?
Right.
So, not yeah,
Never. I'll write that down real quick.
yes, yeah. See, you thought you could get that kind of wisdom anywhere?
This
Don't
is
belittle
why
your wife.
this is why we brought Steve here,
Bad
y'all.
dads, but this
is why we did it.
marriage counseling right here.
Yeah.
No. You know,
First
I
hour,
don't ever
first
believe you,
hour's
please.
free.
Yeah. Oh,
I
man,
thought you
don't
said
know.
you're a different kind of doctor.
That's right.
All this time,
Yeah.
so much wisdom.
Mm.
How about you, Josh? Do you think Melody makes you treat your wife differently by being a dad of a girl?
You know what? I'll answer it like this. I'm going to be like in a deep contemplation after this podcast. 'Cause now I'm going to like analyze myself when I go back. Like,
seriously.
but it's actually kind of cool, right? But I'll share it like this, which is for me, everything about Bree changed the second she gave birth. I was just like, I can't handle that kind of pain, and she you know, she was a monster in that regard. So, so for me,
In a good way.
in a good way,
Only the best way.
yeah, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. So for me, without giving away too much of Bree's story, you know, there was a season in there where she was treated horribly by different dudes and things of that nature,
Mhm.
maybe because internally of what she felt about herself, right? And you know, what she's listening to or whatever in terms of who she is, right? I will say that I do extra with Mel,
Mhm.
knowing that, if that makes sense, right?
Sure.
So
Mhm.
super big. You guys heard me, right? Super important for you to know that you're heard, felt, known, loved,
Yeah.
right? And then confident, right? To understand that you have a unique gift and things of that nature. Short story, because it just happened this week. So Melody came up to me, she's like, "Dad, am I fat?" Right? And I said, well, do you feel fat? And she said, yes. I said, okay, hey, do you think that your feeling of that or how you look defines who you are? She was like, no. And I was like, okay, what defines you? She said Jesus, which was crazy. I was like,
Wow.
get it, dude. Like, that's awesome. That was one of the moments
Dad
where I was
win.
like, you,
Yeah.
holy cow, okay. Like, I'll take that all day.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, no, and what else? And I was like, where does he live? And she was like, in my heart. And I said, exactly. Right. I said, but at the same time, like, would you like to be able to kind of, you're aware of that, right? Like, so would you want to like do something about it? She was like, yeah, I kind of like, I don't like, the thing. I was like, cool. So why don't we have daddy-daughter walks? Let me just walk. Let's have a conversation, right?
Mhm.
Why don't we go ahead and do those sorts of things? Why not? Hey, if you want a snack, like just, have you ever tried drinking water in a moment where you're hungry and just try that? You want to try that for a couple of days, because it's she'll come home and just like grab chips or whatever. And I'm like, hey, like just pounds. She's like, anyway, a couple of days ago, she's like, Dad, that works. Like I got full, like whatever. Why do I share the story? I share the story because it's a reflection of Bree in terms of what little you can think of yourself when you believe just that, when you don't know the definition of what
Mhm.
defines you, right? And so it was in that instance where I was like, okay, connection. So when you pose the question like, hey, do you do it differently? I think I see like an opportunity to breathe into young Brianna.
Mhm.
And so that's the best way
Yeah.
that I can kind of describe that.
Man, I'm impressed. Like if my daughter came up and asked me that question, I would be like, deer in the headlights, and have no idea what I would have responded. So that is impressive. Good work.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I the takeaway that I got from all of this, and closing it out that way, is that wives help you be a better dad to your daughter,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
So with the story you just told,
Absolutely.
and daughters help you be a better husband to your wife,
Mm,
No doubt.
because you get to see your wife sort of as a child and maybe the things that she grew up with, and maybe kind of, you can't fix it for her, but you can help, prevent it for your daughter.
yes, sir.
And, with your daughter, you see that what she goes through and better understand your wife,
Yeah.
Mm.
because you can kind of see the similarities and go, oh, if that's how she came up, right? Or that, my wife told me a story she went through like that. And then you see though what the effect is on the child
Mm.
version of
Yeah.
it that you didn't get to see when you met her.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I understand how that would really impact her for her entire life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep,
No, that
nope.
was really good.
Well,
Yeah, impressive.
this is good.
Yeah.
I like
love
having
it.
guests. We should have guests more often.
That's right.
It's way better.
Well, now we know. I mean, the bar has been set because
gosh,
you
guys, thank
freaking
you.
crushed it.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you. I appreciate you coming, inviting me on. Like I said, honored to be here with you guys. Fine gentlemen. So I really, really appreciate it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, we're honored to have you, and thank you, Doctor, for joining us.
Yes.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you for all those that have watched and that will watch. And like we always say,
Just because you're a bad dad sometimes doesn't mean you have to remain one.
nailed it.
Right?
You
That
nailed
was
it.
it,
That was
right?
good.
Very good.
We haven't
Okay.
even practiced that for a while.
It's been a minute.
All right. Music's going to take us out. Thanks, everybody. Bye.